Hey guys, how are you doing? Here's my alarm for you today, just in case you are not aware of what imaginary friend world is today. La, 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 la. Okay, now, this is art. You can see my art here. This video is play pretend. This is art. When I do voice acting and reading of literature, it's not real. Voice acting is an art. It's a performance. It's an imaginary conversation. And you can even hear this tune on this xylophone here as such. Remember this Old MacDonald's Farm song? What did you do in that Old MacDonald's Farm song? You know, Old MacDonald had a farm. E-I-E-I-O. What did you do in that song? You're playing pretend as different animals. You'd play as a dog. Ruff. You'd play as a cat. Meow. You'd play as a horse. You know, you would do some childish voice acting and you would pretend to be different animals. You would play pretend. That was the art of the Old MacDonald's Farm. You know. And so when I read my reviews here in my literature, I do different voices with my voice acting to let you guys know what kinds of imaginary friends I can relate to in my mind. Because I do have imaginary friends who may talk to me from time to time and ask me, hey Alex, what do you think of this? Or what do you think of that? Or what would it be like if you were more like me? If you were more like me as your imaginary friend. So I will begin this video by reading this review for Centipede for the Atari 7800 console, and I will be doing some voice acting here, and do not be surprised if my voice sounds out of this world and maybe even beyond my body somehow, because that's how imaginary friends work. Okay, here it goes. Centipede isn't an exact delectation. Madness gets really involved where graphics surround themselves upon constant start and reset. A line of judgment is necessary for this exhilarating program. The joystick I have has already fallen into the used category, although you wouldn't be able to tell by using it. Failure is to be expected. Chances are happening where Centipede pulls the plug on impact with sweetness of motion and general exhaust. And I do mean that with a positive decision for gameplay. Our house contains these games in my family. By turns of the wheel and spinning effects, the Atari 7800 console is quite a surprise with tremendous force regarding Centipede. Of course, it's actually my dad who refers to this program with greater interest and anxiety disorder. He's like a horse, and I'm like a zebra. What interests him in skill doesn't quite interest me. The Atari 5200 version of Centipede is more up my alley because the difficulty in that program is a better height and development of challenge. This Atari 7800 version is perfect for the beginner types, and it's not unusual to find gaps and leeways towards your goals in performance for some arcade action. Problem is, my skills are the expert kind for Centipede, and I find the 7800 version to be quite a tiresome affair. Horses, if you have ever seen horses in our local ranches around here in California, should be apt for easy, comfortable notions, while zebras if you have ever seen them in the wild or on maybe perhaps a National Geographic video or on a safari hunt, um, are very territorial over hazardous ground. In other words, horses are more like riders and zebras are more like warriors. And that's why you usually never see a cowboy ride a zebra because zebras are from a different continent with more approach to fight and attack, such as like when a zebra kicks a lion in the chin to get away from a cliff somewhere. So if I had to choose between like those two animals, like horses and zebras, to fight the centipede, I would choose the zebra. I think the zebra would kick the centipede's ass. Whereas on the other hand, I think the horse would get afraid and run away from the centipede, because I've seen movies where horses get really easily afraid of tiny little harmless creatures like squirrels and such, and they run away. Whereas zebras, I think, would just stop right on those small animals, because a zebra knows from, wilderness and attack of the lions and predators of the wild that it's fight to survive. A zebra would understand the warrior kinds of thing as well. Whereas in America, a lot of our horses today are domesticated and they behave more like pets than zebras do because of our work on the farms with these animals. Very interesting, huh? So, yeah. Where was I? I lose my place sometimes in my review. And I stop my acting from time to time to let my audience know there's acting going on and it's not all to be taken seriously, okay? So, But the Atari 7800 Centipede is an excellent work of art due to the infrastructure of time and space. Depth plays a key role to the action. Maybe I'm speaking out of disinterest. Other than that, I'm pretty good to go over the heated pressure. It's not that practical in terms of multiplayer. I'm smarter than Dad, so why make him look silly and shatter his dreams of eternal matters? Locking horns takes some practice. Besides, it's better for him to play alone without me. A beginner doesn't tolerate loss very well. He agrees that the Atari 7800 version is more suitable to his tastes compared to the Atari 5200 version, which threw him off with premature results. I guess it depends on the player's references to digital and analog. Now, we shouldn't give too much reference to definitions, high and low, regarding modern technology, since these views of light, over and over changing us for the exchange of looks, put gamers into trouble just out of goals everybody in gaming needs to work on. So what that means is we need to remember this motto that artists will often tell you in the modern world. Try the impossible. Do the impossible. Go for the impossible. So, yeah. So, for example, maybe you're someone who was born in Europe, but, okay, how come you cannot pretend to be a tiger? Or how come you cannot pretend to be a polar bear? I mean, if you think about polar bears, for example, polar bears come from like a really snowy area where almost nobody lives in most cases. So technically, all voice actors pretty much for the polar bear would be foreigners to the polar bear. But it's like, well, okay, well, yeah, but that's not how imagination works. Imagination is about acting and pretending to be things you are not, in order to explore possibilities and let your curiosity spark in a lot of flying colors and have pleasure and fun and fascination over the entertainment and such. That's how art works. Art would not be possible if we were only able to only describe things exactly as they are. That does not get into the art territory when we describe things exactly as they are. That gets into the like the chemistry, or like the science department. So yeah, keep that in mind. My Atari 7800 joystick is an original work. The joystick clicks in place. The red buttons provide me with a bigger touch for automatic fire, and overall bias for the device leaves a great mark or scar under my radar of fortunes. If you're a beginner, you'll love Centipede. But for me, it's a silly spoil of temptation. And I end my review there, and yeah, just keep this in mind, guys. This is art. This is not, yeah. Yeah, art is not real. Do not think art is real. That's not a nice thing to say about art, where someone says, hey, that art looks real. That's not a nice thing to say about art. Art is meant for curiosity, not for truth. Art is a different category, so take care and have a good one. God bless.